My co-worker in our Dallas office was asked to shred some sensitive documents. I found her making a photocopy of every single page first. When I asked why, she said with a thick Texas drawl, "Well, the government can read our emails, right? I'm making a hard copy backup to keep at my ranch, just in case the feds try to erase us. It's my constitutional right to have my own records." We had a new hire from California who was tasked with setting up a new server. He spent 2 hours trying to plug the power cord into an Ethernet port. When the manager found him, he was complaining that these new plugs aren't compatible with my energy field. In Silicon Valley, the tech is more intuitive and respects your aura. He was completely serious. A co-worker once sent an email to the entire company, over 5,000 employees nationwide, asking if anyone in the New York City office had a spare iPhone charger. When people started replying all, he replied all again to say, "Sorry, my bad." Then he replied all a third time to announce, "My buddy from Goldman Sachs is bringing me one. We're good." I worked with a woman from Florida who truly believed the cloud was a physical data center that floated over the Gulf of Mexico. She was genuinely concerned about what would happen to our company's data during hurricane season. She asked our boss if we had a data evacuation plan and suggested we move our files to a server in a safer state like Ohio. During a meeting, my manager said, "Let's put a pin in that." My co-worker, Kevin from Wisconsin, immediately stood up, walked to the giant map of the USA on the wall, and stuck a pushpin directly onto our state. He then sat down looking proud. "Wisconsin is pinned," he announced. "Now we won't forget it." The topic had been about quarterly sales figures. A guy in our Chicago office was responsible for ordering supplies. He ordered 5,000 Big Mac coupons instead of 5,000 staples. When the mountain of McDonald's vouchers arrived, he defended himself by saying, "Well, they're valuable, right? We can use them as performance incentives. Nothing motivates an American worker like the promise of a free burger." I had a co-worker who would come to my desk multiple times a day to ask me to Google things for her. Her reasoning? "You have that fancy Comcast Xfinity internet. I just have the cheap AT&T. Your Google is faster and gets the real American results. Mine probably gets the slow foreign ones." We worked in the same office on the same network. For the office Thanksgiving potluck, a co-worker brought in a dish she called sushi. It was just hot dogs wrapped in a slice of Kraft American cheese, then rolled in Wonder bread. She was offended when no one ate it, complaining that we weren't patriotic enough to appreciate her American take on a classic Japanese dish. A woman in accounting was convinced that using Fahrenheit for our temperature-sensitive servers was more accurate than Celsius because Fahrenheit has more numbers, so it's more precise. It's the American way. She submitted a formal complaint when an IT tech used Celsius in a report, calling it un-American and confusing. My co-worker was supposed to book a flight for our boss to a conference in Washington. He ended up booking a flight to Washington, Pennsylvania, instead of Washington, D.C. His excuse was, the ticket was way cheaper on Spirit Airlines. I thought I was being fiscally responsible and saving the company from the D.C. swamp tax. I once watched a co-worker from Arizona try to make iced tea. He put a Lipton tea bag and cold water into a mug and then set it on the windowsill in direct sunlight. He complained that our office windows were socialist because they had a UV coating that blocked the good, strong freedom rays needed to brew the tea properly. A colleague was tasked with creating a PowerPoint presentation on our company's history. The first slide was a picture of the American flag. The second was a bald eagle. The third was a photo of George Washington. We are a software company founded in 2008. His justification was, you have to start with the foundation of all American success, freedom. We had a mandatory fire drill. One co-worker from Boston refused to leave. When the fire warden came to his desk, he said, "I'm in the middle of a fantasy football draft. This is the championship. It's more important than some fake fire. He genuinely believed the draft for his fantasy league took precedence over a building-wide safety evacuation. A co-worker in marketing was asked to find a stock photo of a diverse group of people. She came back with a photo of the cast of Friends. Her justification was, well, there's a man, a woman, a funny one, a dumb one. That's diversity, right? It's the most popular show in American history, so people will relate to it. My desk mate once printed a 200-page document from a government website. He then used a scanner to scan every single page back into the computer to create a PDF. I explained that you can print directly to PDF. He looked at me, bewildered, and said, "But this is a government document. You have to have a physical copy for it to be legal, even if you're just making a digital one." A guy I worked with was convinced that our Canadian clients were just Northern Americans who were confused. He would end every call with them by saying, "Hope you guys see the light and join the union soon. Have a great day, eh?" He thought he was being friendly and patriotic. Our Canadian sales dropped by 20%. A woman on my team was responsible for watering the office plants. She killed them all. We found out she was watering them with Gatorade. When asked why, she said, "It's got electrolytes. It's what plants crave. If it's good enough for Michael Jordan, it's good enough for a fern." During a brainstorming session, a co-worker suggested we target our new luxury product to people who live in zip codes that start with a 9. When asked to elaborate, he said, "That's California, right? Aren't they all rich movie stars there? It's a guaranteed market." He was from New Jersey and had never been west of the Mississippi. My co-worker was supposed to mail a package to a client in Hawaii. He put extra stamps on it because he was worried it wouldn't have enough postage to get across the ocean. He thought Hawaii was a foreign country that was part of the US Postal Service as a courtesy. I had a colleague who would end every single work-related phone call by saying, "God bless America and God bless this company." This included calls to IT support when his mouse was broken and calls to clients who were complaining about a late shipment. It was his only response to everything. A new hire was confused about time zones. She came in 3 hours late for a conference call with our Los Angeles office. She was in New York. Her argument, "But it's one country. How can it be one time on the East Coast and another time on the West Coast? That seems really inefficient. President Trump should have fixed that." A co-worker once tried to pay for his lunch in the company cafeteria with a buy one, get one free coupon for a foot-long sub from Subway. He argued with the cashier for 10 minutes, insisting that a coupon was a legal tender contract and that she was violating his consumer rights by not accepting it for our in-house taco salad. We had a team-building exercise that involved a world geography quiz. One team member, after staring at a map of Europe for 5 minutes, confidently labelled Germany as the place where they make the good cars. He labelled Italy as pizza and France as fancy. He saw absolutely nothing wrong with his answers. A woman in my department thought that the IP address for our company website was its physical location. She once tried to order a pizza to be delivered to 172 16 254 Toit 1 and got angry at the Domino's employee who couldn't find it on a map. My co-worker was asked to get a head count for the office 4th of July BBQ. He went around and asked everyone what their American dream was. He then presented a 10-page report on our collective hopes and aspirations instead of just giving the party planning committee the number 52. A colleague was convinced that our office printer, a Japanese brand, was secretly spying on us for the Japanese government. He would only print documents that were pro-America and would often try to trick it by printing out the Declaration of Independence, claiming he was fighting the good fight from the inside. I worked with a guy who didn't understand that Alaska and Hawaii were actual states. He had only ever seen them in the little boxes on maps of the US and thought they were islands right next to each other somewhere near Mexico. He asked a co-worker from Alaska if she ever took the ferry over to Hawaii for the weekend. A woman on my team was supposed to be taking meeting minutes. Halfway through, she stopped writing and started doing her taxes on her laptop. When the boss asked for the minutes later, she said, "Sorry, the April 15th deadline is more important than this meeting. It's my duty as an American citizen to file on time. It's in the Constitution, I think." My co-worker was in charge of the coffee machine. One day it broke. His solution was to tape a sign to it that said, "Broken." This is what happens when you elect Democrats. He turned a broken appliance into a political statement and then refused to call maintenance because it was their fault anyway. A guy in sales thought that our quarterly sales goal of 1 NEM meant 1 million individual sales, not $1 million. He spent a month trying to sell our $500 product to 2,000 different people for 50 cents each, arguing that it was the fastest way to hit the million. A co-worker once sent a company-wide email asking people to stop taking his Diet Dr. Pepper from the fridge. The subject line was a declaration of fridge independence. In the email, he quoted Thomas Jefferson and threatened to form a militia if his soda was stolen again. HR had to intervene. I had a desk mate who would only use red, white and blue pens. He claimed that using any other colours was disrespectful to the flag. He would spend hours searching for a blue pen to sign a document if all he had was black, delaying his own work out of a bizarre sense of patriotism. A woman I worked with was afraid of the metric system. If a document from a European client contained measurements in meters or kilograms, she would refuse to touch it. She called it communist math and insisted they resubmit it with normal, freedom-loving measurements like feet and pounds. My co-worker was asked to compile a list of our top competitors in the state of Texas. He came back with a list that included Mexico. His reasoning was that they're right there on the border and they're probably trying to take our jobs. We need to build a firewall, a business firewall. A guy in my department was supposed to create a simple bar chart. Instead, he built a model of a bar out of Legos and used different coloured bricks to represent the data. He said, "This is how we do it in America. We build things with our hands. It's more impactful than a boring computer chart."